Thank you for coming to our session. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dana Puia-Morel. I'm a policymaker at the European Commission. And I'm going to be helped by some wonderful people today. You're going to have 4 speakers here that introduce themselves when time comes. And I have Sabine who's going to help me host this session today. And the title of this session is a creative title that, we're working with this title. So I hope that you came here not necessarily for the title, but we're going to explore today some entrepreneurial stories. And for those of you who were at the session before that, there was my boss there actually, and he said, oh, this is the best story, this is the best place in the SME Assembly, we're listening to stories. And I say, yes, we're continuing listening to stories here, because for us policymakers, it's very important to hear the stories, because when we make policy, we want to hear from people, and probably you heard yesterday and today, also from Sarah yesterday, this word co-creation. We try to co-create policies and actions at European level. So the session today is going to be about women entrepreneurs, about what they do, about what women entrepreneurs do, and how they solve challenges. And are those similar or different to those of men entrepreneurs? So I have to say that we have one entrepreneur, so representing male entrepreneurs is Bruno here. He has a challenging task, and it's deliberately only one. The organizer proposed a two men, 2 women, and I say no, it's going to be different. And on the panel before, also deliberately, if you've been there at Stories for Success, they were 2 ladies and 1 guy. And, we heard very, very interesting stories there. So we'll continue today. And we have Ellen, Tarin, and Olivia who are going to tell their stories. So it's going to be a storytelling session from which we're going to see how is it to be an entrepreneur in the European Union. And your task, Sabine will explain a little bit later, is to listen to these stories and to see what do you make of these stories. Can we together collectively make something of these stories that we can continue to use afterwards in our work? Okay. And Sabine, are you ready for the check-in?
Shall we do the, do you want to do the check-in?
I do the check-in with a question. And we have some new questions, okay. So we'll do a little check-in to welcome you to our session. So I have 3 questions. I'm going to tell all 3 questions so not to disturb you when you hear the first one. So the questions for check-in are, who feels more from Venus? Who feels more from Mars? And who feels neither? So I'd like you to raise your hand. When I say the question, you raise your hand. So who feels more from Venus? Okay. All right. Oh, thank you. Important, actually. Okay. Who feels more from Mars? Okay. Well, thank you. Yes, important. Okay. And who feels neither? Okay. Thank you. I also feel neither. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we're going to tell you now a little bit more on the process. Sabine will explain to you how we're going to listen to the stories.
Okay. So we thought, hello from my side, we thought it would be good that you in the tables, I will just start to give you the listening arcs. So to have different listening arcs, what does that mean? That when you are listening to these inspiring stories, that you listen with a focus. And one group is listening with a focus on solutions. And the other, let me see how many, and then we will see. So it's distributed. The others are listening to focus on the challenges they hear in the stories. And the third group will listen on similarities and differences. So what are the similarities and what are the differences you are noticing? And afterwards, we will just harvest, and I will try to capture a little bit what you find out. You have paper on the table and some markers. Just take some notes and continue. And with that, I hand over.
All right. So now it's time for you to listen. Please listen carefully, because if you miss the story, you won't be able to make out the meaning of it. I'd like to invite you to listen, please. Listening. The speakers are about to start. I'm sorry, it's not time for conversation. I'm sorry. Because if you miss the story, you won't be able to make out the meaning of it. All right. So everybody is listening. Please raise your hand if you're listening. And not speaking, okay? All right, thank you. So I will invite our speakers now. They'll briefly introduce themselves and then they'll tell you their story. How did they become an entrepreneur? It's brief. They have 4 minutes each. You know, at the SME Assembly, time is a little bit constraining, but I'm sure you'll do your best, and I'm sure the audience will do their best in listening, okay? So our first speaker is Olivia. So you have 4 minutes. When the timer rings, you'll have to stop, okay? You know that. If not, I will stop you, but I prefer not to, okay? So 4 minutes, please. All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm Olivia Angelescu, and I'm a woman. Right? And I'm a wife, and I'm a mother to 2 daughters, and a bunch of other things, and then I'm also an entrepreneur. And wearing this hat in my business, I'm basically a visibility and marketing strategy expert, and I work with other women entrepreneurs from 5 continents, 27 countries, not that I counted them, or anything. So I help them create order in their business and really own their expertise and their voice and stand out and basically make a bunch of money, right? So my story, when I decided to start my own business, it was, I guess, more than 7 years ago. After working, having a pretty successful career in corporations, I decided to go international from day one. And I realized very quickly that this involved lots of visibility, because as a one-woman show who speaks English with an accent, who was trying to sell her expertise, her services, her coaching programs on a very, dynamic, international, competitive market full of choices, full of other options, I knew that visibility was really key for myself, because as we know, people buy from people, right? So in order to become to attract an audience, to start a relationship with them, to make them, like me, know me, trust me as a professional, I needed to be visible. So I made a plan. I hired a business coach because I had no idea at the point what I was doing. I signed up for a bunch of training courses, and they all said, go all in on video. Do a lot of video, become omnipresent, be everywhere, all the times, and it will work for you. And I said, okay, I will do whatever it takes. I created this wonderful, nice-looking content plan with my pen on paper. And then I set up a challenge for myself to do a daily live video on social media for 30 days. And it didn't happen. I couldn't do anything. It was not working. I swear, the moment I was opening my camera, my brain would go numb. It was so infuriating. I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming. So I thought, okay, this is frustrating. What is this? What's this new thing I'm discovering about myself, and what do I do with it, right? And this very quickly set me on, I think, the best personal development school is entrepreneurship. I don't know if you are aware of this or if you even agree, but for me it was like this. So I really started to think about why am I feeling this immense fear of visibility. And I started to really think about growing up. Growing up and learning that women are supposed to take care of everybody else before themselves, that women are really supposed to tone themselves down and really hold their opinions if there is the slightest risk to offend or annoy somebody else. So this really, growing up, I learned, unfortunately, that in order to fit in order to be accepted, I need to tone my authentic voice down. And here I was, trying to grow a business, right? Being visible. So what happened is that in order to grow my business, I really started to be doing this really meaningful work of working with myself and deconstructing this, social conditioning and really changing my beliefs. This is not a sad story. I did find my way, and I don't even know if it would have been easier for me if I was a man. I really don't care. I don't think about it like this, but I really embraced my story, my journey, because it led me to where I am today. And I think if there is one lesson I would like you to take from my story, is don't be afraid of being yourself. Is the best thing you have, and use it as a way to propel yourself forward, no matter it is what you want to do. Thank you so much for listening to my story today.
Thank you. Thank you. Tarin, you're the next speaker. 4 minutes. I'm sorry it's short, but I know you'll do great.
Thank you very much. I'm Tarin Anderson. I'm half Danish, half Spanish, and I'm mother of 2 girls based in Barcelona and traveling all day. I started my background in the private banking for 13, 14 years, and I was always like founding new clients and bringing and making asset management. I don't know why it was a little bit boring finally, and then I started an MBA at IS Business School, and they were like not only open me the professional way to approach the market or the corporate, also in a personal way, they were pushing me to become an entrepreneur. So I decided to quit the bank. I invest in the first company. I failed everything. I did all the things that you were not supposed to do, like the team, no due diligence, nothing. Completely lost all the money. And then but at that time, the good point was that I was starting to go to startups boot camps in order to support entrepreneurs. And the good thing of the mentorings is that I was going there to help them, but they were also opening my mind, and I was learning from them. It's always a balance between learning. You always learn from anyone about the sector, or it doesn't matter. So I met there a venture capital, call it TH Cap. They were investing in that time in United States, Canada, 80% of the portfolio, 20% in Europe, and I decided to join them. Actually, we started like a bet. They say that it was very difficult to fundraise money in Europe to take it to the United States, and I said, that's impossible. The United States is the master. So it was true. It took me 1 year almost to fundraise. That was for the second fund. Now we're in the fourth fund. 2017, that was in 2016. 2017, after seeing some pitches, we were at the networking with the other investors. They came, the managing partner came over and said, Tarin, we would like you to join you as a GP. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Then I went with my female friends, investors, and I asked them, what does it mean to be a GP? And they were like, there's only 4 females in the whole Spain. I was like, no, it cannot be possible. I mean, I'm not special. Any woman could do that. Why? Women are reacting so different in that field. And also the investors, when the startups, the entrepreneurs, when they're coming to see us as an investor, they react completely different than a male. So we started a big discussion that it was no any answer at all. Then we decided to build up Impulse for Women, a non-profit organization where we are connecting female tech entrepreneurs with investors. The first year we were only scouting in Spain. I didn't find more than 150, so the professional Tinder was very weak. We couldn't seduce the investors to come over if we didn't have enough startups. So I'm also a jury member at the EIC for health. And we decided, okay, let's going to move to the rest of Europe. And also I do have a lot of friends as an investor that they're co-investing with me. And the third step will be North America. But the funny thing was they started to arrive females from South Africa, Lebanon, Uruguay, and I was like, what am I going to do? I do not know any investor in that countries. So we started to close agreement with international public and private institutions. And we started to do mentoring sessions, pitching sessions, and we started to grow. As we were always an online platform, we have been always working from the online side. So today we're 11,000 startups. We do have 6,000 in Europe. We have all types of sectors, and my time is gone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Ellen, you're our next speaker, also 4 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to find this challenging, people. So I'm Ellen McCallum, and I'm a social entrepreneur. So started life, I was a youth worker. After doing an African studies degree, not much correlation, hugely interesting, went into something else which I found hugely interesting. And from that, I went into policy work because I realized that there were things that I wanted to try and tackle, but couldn't tackle as a youth worker, but might be able to do it in government. And I've kind of come full circle, if you like, because as a youth worker, I think I was pretty entrepreneurial in just doing stuff, creating activities, working up things that could engage young people. I worked in the South Wales Valleys with young people tackling drug issues, teenage parents, homelessness. And now I'm a social entrepreneur because you could also probably call me a passion-based entrepreneur because I really believe in life skills. So I run Bantony Education. Bantony means away we go in Welsh. And we're all about entrepreneurial learning for life, for creativity, for understanding and being able to fulfill your potential as a young person, older person. Really trying to get entrepreneurial skills, competencies into any kind of learning, any sector. When I came here to talk in this panel, I was like, my story, that's me. I've not really done me much. I came out of being 20 years in working for organizations until 8 years ago when I set up Bantony. So actually talking about me is my first challenge, ultimately. I think when I think of the challenges that I've had to come across, the first one is talking about me. Talking about my story, talking about the fact that, all right, I can probably take a bit of credit for the fact that I've gone out there, I've done stuff, and we've done good stuff. I can take credit for that. I find that very difficult because I've always been in that team environment, and it is a we, it's not me, it's we have done this. I'm feeling myself going red as I say it as well, because this is very much the spotlight's on me. So that's my first challenge when I think of myself as a woman entrepreneur. And I looked at this online and it was all timidity. I don't feel very timid. I'm not a timid person, but I am someone who doesn't take compliments easily. And that's not just the British person, I think. It is that ability to sort of lead from the front, to celebrate everything. But when you lead from the front and you celebrate everything, you also have to take it yourself, and that I find quite difficult. So that's my first challenge, and I think that I see that as something that's quite me, and I think that's quite female as well, because this is why we want women in every part of our society at the decision-making level, because we take that diversity of approach, and we have that diversity of gender perspective within those decision-making environments. Second thing I wanted to say, is that balancing everything is a real challenge. I actually started Bantony because I wanted to have a better work-life balance. I laugh at that now. I do. But it has given me choices. It's given me choices. If I don't work on Friday, or if I don't work, I don't go to that thing, that's my choice. I'm never being told to do it. So that's a challenge, and it remains a challenge. And I had my daughter, who is 9.5, crying on the phone just earlier saying, "Mummy, I've got a tummy ache, can you come home?" And I'm like, not right now, sorry. So there's that role model. Yes, I'm a role model, but yes, I'm also torn sometimes. Last thing I want to mention, financing. Financing is definitely an issue as a woman entrepreneur, and it's definitely an issue as a social entrepreneur. The stats prove it, the research shouts it from the rooftops. And I think that's something. My bank stopped lending to social enterprises at the beginning of the pandemic without telling anyone. Real challenge. So that's my 3 challenges: leading from the front, timidity, balancing, and money.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you. All right. All right, and now we've come to Bruno, our last speaker. I think you've noticed we have a ladies first policy on this panel, so that's why you're last, but I'm sure your story will be inspiring. So we have 4 minutes.
Perfect. I can imagine some of you are confused. I was confused when I received the invitation to be here on stage as a typical male model, right? With the hair included. But when Dana explained that it was about the stories of entrepreneurship and the lessons you take from life and which can maybe transcend gender, I felt at ease to be here this afternoon. My entrepreneurial journey has 4 chapters, and I'd like to share some details of it and the main lesson from each of those chapters. I want to take you back to Leuven police station. I'm from Belgium. Don't worry, I'm not a criminal. I was 19 years old. And I was summoned by the police commissioner because I did something illegal. I was too enthusiastic in my entrepreneurial endeavors. I had put a lot of flyers in the city, and I forgot to mention the name of the publisher. So apparently a flyer of my business was in front of the police commissioner's office. And I needed to explain myself. He saw that I was really not a criminal, and after 5 minutes I was a free man. But the big lesson that I took from it is that the rules matter. And when you look today at the rules around entrepreneurship, also related to women, there's still a lot of barriers, I think, that we can take away. One of the things I'm doing today is working with larger employer organizations in Belgium to actually remove barriers so that people can be more free in creating their business. Continuing to the second chapter, I was age 26. Had 2 masters in business and law in my backpack, so I thought I'm ready to conquer the world, right? The typical let's grow until there's no tomorrow. And I started my digital agency, thinking that I knew what I needed to know. But after 6 months, both my parents died, leaving me with my startup and leaving me with their restaurant to manage, and above all, the grief of the loss. And the loss was less easily managed than the business. So what I did, I ran into business. I wanted to grow. For over 7 years, I had a team of 20 people on my payroll. I was planning to open an office in London. But the big lesson there is that you cannot outrun your own feelings and the struggles that you have. And the lesson I take from it is that sustainable entrepreneurship, there's a lot of talk about sustainable entrepreneurship. It's not necessarily about the ecology, but it's about sustainability of the entrepreneur. That's where it starts, because a business is only as strong as an entrepreneur. Moving to chapter 3, I wanted to contribute to more value-driven initiatives, and then I started the TEDx conferences in Leuven. Maybe you know, it's like inspirational talks. I created a non-profit, and there I saw wonderful people with projects, and I noticed, these projects don't materialize into businesses. The lesson I took there is that we need to teach people how to build an organization. It's the key skill for me as an entrepreneur. It's one that I have struggled with myself. I thought I had everything in the backpack from university. I even took a class in the Institute to Entrepreneurship, but they didn't teach me those kind of things. And finally, my last chapter, that's a chapter I'm in now today. I'm running Haponomy. It's happiness and economy squeezed in one word. Building solutions for a regenerative economy, basically undoing the damage to our health, our relations, and our ecology. And there I think that we need to have a new narrative, a narrative where business is a force for good, and where people who push the boundaries, like these women here on stage, are celebrated, and that we truly take those people as role models and champions for change. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for giving us such diverse stories. I didn't realize how diverse the stories would be, so I hope the audience has a rich task now. So you see what Sabine showed you. You have these listening arcs or lenses on your table. So you have 15 minutes at your tables to discuss, for instance here, what solutions did you hear? Or what challenges? Or are there any similarities and differences? So discuss with your partners at the table. Maybe if it's only the two of you, you want to move, join other tables. If you feel lonely, up to you. And maybe you can also discuss among yourselves here, because if you join the tables, you're going to give them hints on your stories, and I don't like that. Okay, so 15 minutes. Okay, time is up. I invite you to listen now. Okay, time is up. Thank you. Time is up. Okay. All right, so let's listen now to what happened at your tables. Okay, I'm going to invite you to report what happened at your tables. You're going to be brief because I don't have a lot of time. So let's hear from the challenges. A few challenges that you heard. Who would like to start? Huh? Here? Okay, brief, yes?
So first of all, thanks for the panelists to be so open and transparent. We noted a couple of things down, and I think it's important to note that we saw two things in common. First of all, experience and skills. I think in the beginning you have no experience, you have no skills, something that is both Venus and Mars, if we can say, for men and women. Lack of skills eventually will lead to being innovative and to eventually become or go on the path of finding and going on your journey. The next thing we saw was rules matter. Trial and error is important, but you have to be careful. Rules are very important. There is a framework. The things we saw more linked to Venus is the gender bias, the legacy, and also the external effects and the subjective approach of women is something that we saw primarily with women and not so much with the story of Bruno. Financing or the lack of financing also is linked to Venus, so the ecosystem is not really in favor or seems to not be so in favor. There's a supply and demand mismatch, which we saw, which we heard. And then we have two more, which is self-image. I think self-esteem and visibility as a woman might be something or is something that has been voiced by the panel. And there's also multiple roles. So being a mother or a parent on the one hand and a CEO on the other hand might be difficult to balance and to eventually do the role as it should.
Thank you. Other challenges that were not mentioned?
I think they have mentioned everything, but we saw also the challenges through two perspectives. The one is the challenges that comes from inside, from ourselves, from our beliefs, from our past experience, from the things that are in our heart and in our mind, more or less. And external challenges that are for financing, for other people's beliefs, stereotypes, and so on and so forth. But also the two things are related. So, and the good news here is that we can work on us, and this will change most probably the outside as well, is what we heard.
Very nice, thank you. Anything else? Yeah. What was not mentioned?
Yeah, well, yeah, we think that it was now mentioned that this lack of visibility that was mentioned needs additional resources for women. You have to invest something else to make yourself visible. So this is an additional burden for women regarding men in that sense. And also the fact that you have to learn to take care of yourself. You need to put additional effort on that. And we decided that it was not mentioned that it's not only about gender. We more and more talk about Gedi or GEDI, which is gender, equality or equity, diversity and inclusion, because it's not only about men and women. So we think that this is good to mention also here.
Anything else on challenges? Okay, over there.
Well, as an introduction, we thought that there were actually in the first story not really gender issues. They were issues related to entrepreneurship and how, thanks to the gender, they were dealt in a different way. Okay, so just a few challenges. Entrepreneurship needs to deal with critical events of life. We have heard that in all four stories, particularly in Tuthu. Second one is, in many cases, the first drive, the first motive, and the first expectation to start your entrepreneurship has to leave space to a second and most lasting and impactful drive for entrepreneurship. And then making a capital out of the first experience you had in your employment life or in your first entrepreneurship experience to build on the next one. These were the challenges.
Thank you. Let's move to solutions now. Let's see what solutions you've heard. Who would like to start? But please, very brief. Solutions. Okay, thank you. I was going to say maybe there are no brief solutions.
Okay, a part of solution, it can be also a challenge. A challenge can be a part of solution. So the failure can be also a part of success. So first. Another thing is passion. It's a key. Networking, mentoring, visibility, being brave. For example, first story, immediately going to the international market, don't without any doubts. Yes, without hesitation. Start from yourself. So self-confidence is a first step in this journey. And what else? Balance, yes. The third story, yes, about the balance. It's always a challenge, but it can be also, especially for women, a part of success. Learn from your mistakes. And what else? Girls, do we have something?
I think you have to be brief. Sorry, I have to give voice to another table. Anyone else would like to mention a solution that was not mentioned? Here, I go first.
Yeah, so we were slightly on their role, but then actually the learning to be yourself. And we talked about that a lot. And actually that seems to fit not just, you know, if you come from if you're a woman and you've been told to be meek and that you then need to learn to not be that. I think if you're a man and you've learned to be, you know, successful and you need to win and everything, that also doesn't work in entrepreneurship. So you said, I think, that entrepreneurship is the best school of life. Best personal development school. And I think that is completely so, and that is for, I think that is for anyone, any background. If you can't be yourself, then you will not be successful. That's and then the sustainability starts with the self. That was another thing. I think these are all related. So we actually talked a lot about that, and then about her company, which is great, and you should all talk to her. Pauline.
Thank you. All right, I think I saw a hand here. Briefly, please.
Yeah, well, we have heard it a lot. It's all about learning. And you've got learning in hard skills and in soft skills. In hard skills you can do at a business school, you can take in your backpack, you do it on your young days, but you have the soft skills for being an entrepreneur. Can only learn from experience. Experience do you do self or from others. And then the entrepreneur itself is in the middle. Don't give up. Celebrate your success. Try to be balanced. Then there might come some success.
Thank you. All right, so let's hear now from differences and similarities. You already mentioned them also in the challenges. So who would like to sum up? Was there anything different, men, women, in between, or similarities? Yes?
Yeah, similarities. We think they are all happy to be entrepreneurs. So, in the end, and they were very honest, all of them, about their challenges. And they all touched upon personal and family aspects, so in a very open way, linked to their becoming entrepreneurs. So there must be a link there. But then we notice also some differences.
So first we noticed that actually all the ladies in the panel said that they were first employed and then they are proceeding of being entrepreneurs. So they first have a career as employees and then started their entrepreneurial journey. Also, we highlighted the fact that women were more focused on the social aspects of their business. Even if they are not social entrepreneurs themselves, they are focusing more on the social aspect of their business. And also, we identified that two of the ladies of the panel said that they asked for support when they were starting. I don't know if it was also how you started, but okay. So whether it was mentoring or consultancy, they asked for support during their first steps. And also, sorry to mention, but I loved your speech. When you started the introduction, you said that you were kind of surprised to be invited to participate in a female, let's say, panel. Well, that's the main difference, because actually female entrepreneurs are always the minority in panels, in events, in conferences. So for us, it's no surprise that we are actually the minority in a panel full of men. So that's also a difference for us. Thank you.
And I thought something quickly here. Quickly, please.
I will tell about the differences that I mentioned. Of course, the stories are different, but the aim of the stories maybe became similar. Only one of them is the different gender, the gentleman. This is also different. The gentleman did not exceed the time, so I think women are more on the tailor.
You didn't what?
Didn't exceed the time.
And maybe I couldn't catch, but only Ellen underlined the imbalance in work and personal life. And similarities, they are all humans and faced similar challenges, I think. They all mentioned to be brave, to take actions. Stories are not only about entrepreneurship, but also contain some personal life experiences. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to go back to the speakers now, because we'd like all of us to hear how was it for them? What sense do they make of what they heard, this feedback on their stories? I'm going to start on this side now. Ellen, I'm going to start with you. What have you heard? What do you make of what you heard?
I'm going to say one thing that's really stood out to me, and it came out in our conversation as well. And it speaks to me because I'm also, during my journey as an entrepreneur, I found out I had ADHD, which I never had an even idea of, but it makes so much sense. And the ability to build an organization is a real challenge, I think, for me as someone who I put in this neurodiverse perspective. And so the thing that stood out is that when we started talking, you and I both said this organization, building that, trying to create something that's really working to grow something is a real challenge that I've experienced. And perhaps that's not a female thing, but it's very much a personal thing that I've taken out of this, and quite an interesting for me.
Thank you. I go to you, Bruno.
I've taken it some are from Mars, some are from Venus, and we're all from planet Earth. So that's my main conclusion with what I liked about what was said by you, that with inner challenges and outer challenges, which enable us to grow. And I do believe that's a common thread which transcends the gender discussion. So that, and again, I still have some time left. So what I failed to say is, and that struck me from the panel, the three ladies said, yeah, I'm a father of a daughter of 9. And I can tell you it's as important, that's obviously a personal thing, but as important as all the entrepreneurial endeavors that are there. And I do know that a lot of men, where there's also some biases involved, that's what you were saying, right? That a lot of men actually would also want to have a different kind of narrative and a different kind of balance. So I think if we look for balance, then we'll be good.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Karen.
Thank you. I'm going to make another approach. The way that we interact with fear. There's something very interesting when you're seeing males. A company that is made of female and male are the best ones. I don't know if you know that. It's just the way that we interact with the way that the male is going to risk is completely different than the way that the female does it. She's conservative, but that happens at home as well. If you got a wife and a man, he's gonna try to do a lot of more things and she's gonna retain it. So those corporates, startups, that they're made of male and female are incredible in numbers. And we could give you data about that. You can perfectly see it how big. Why? A male is going to ask 100,000 euros for a 5% of the equity of the company year 1. The second year, he will go for 200,000 euros for a 5%. The third year, he doesn't care to go and ask 300,000 euros for another 5%. A woman will take a 20% in the first day for 300,000 because she doesn't want to go to fundraising. So these things, it happens. And this is why it's so important to be both together.
Thank you. And Olivia?
For me, thinking about it, I think someone there mentioning family and the fact that all the 3 women here really led with it from the start. It got me thinking a little bit about all the thousands of women I had the honor of working with over the past 7 years. And like the reason I started my business and, started this entrepreneurial crazy journey was because I wanted to be a more present mom for my daughters. And this is not something that you usually hear a man talking about, the reason I started my business. Even if they feel it, they don't lead with it. Whereas for women, I find it mostly we take full ownership of this situation. So it was quite eye-opening to me to hear that.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you. And now, while you're leaving, when you wrap up, I'd like you to put in Slido an answer to a very simple question. What are you leaving with? And if we can have the Slido code so that we can see the answers, and I'll either on the screen, yeah, thank you, and hopefully we'll see the answer. So what are you leaving with? And you guys could join as well. I don't know if you see the codes. I don't have it here. Okay, you can do it afterwards, but so let's hear, what are you leaving with?
That is very big.
Yeah, sorry. So you've seen similarities and differences, and we had some surprises today. I really like how these stories came up. We were not expecting to hear this thing, so I think maybe it's worth continuing this kind of sharing. And thank you for this personal sharing is important, and it's important for us when we look at, because we look at policies in general, but the personal stories are very important, because if we take more of them into account, maybe our actions and initiatives will look a little bit different. So let's continue that, all of us and all of you in your roles. Okay. Male feminists. Wow, okay. Nice. Yes, yes, and encouragement. Self-encouragement, very nice.
Can I say one thing? Last year we had a workshop, and I think the one thing I took away from that workshop was the need, we talk about male feminists, but really to sort of, break down the gender barriers through the education process, so that we talk in a different way, we understand a different way, and there's no, those role models that might be a bit more female or might be a bit more male are broken down, but also the concept of role within family, role within society is really broken down. An active part of education that would be very valuable.
So let's reflect on our roles. Like in my work at the Commission as a coach, I work a lot on roles because I want people to be aware of their roles. So it was wonderful how you brought them or didn't bring them. There are many roles that we have in our lives and they have an impact. So let's reflect on that in what you do, because you also have multiple roles. Okay. Don't give up. Yes, yeah, and this do not fall for stereotypes. So at the Commission, we also work with girls, and it's very important to tell them because young girls become aware of stereotypes and they don't understand them, but they take them and they don't know what to do with them. So it's important to also educate, what you said on education, to educate young people, very young people, if we want society to look a little bit different. And now I give it to Sabine to...
And it's time over, unfortunately. So, and my iPad crashed during this. So your stories are digitally, and I captured your insights, precious insights, on the paper. I will merge both, and technology will come back for sure. And you can find it in the Ideas Lounge in the coffee break area later tonight before the IPA, and have a look. And thank you all so much for this great session.
Thank you.